Starting lineup, Teemo, Sechuani, Yasuo, Jinx, Lux up against Mordekaiser, Nocturne, Vex, Vayne, Rel. Rating of the picks for a lower ranked game. Teemo as a top. 4. Sechuani in the jungle. 10. Yasuo as a mid. We're gonna bump Yasuo up from an 8 to a 9. So it's a 9 for Yasuo in the mid. Lux in support. 6. Mordekaiser as a top. 9. Nocturne in the jungle. 10. Vex as a mid. 9. Vayne as a shooter. 8. Rel in support. 10. Here in this game, this magnificent Lux skin, which makes her look like a little angel. We also have the Sechuani riding around on a lion. You have to see that. Here in this game, we have this German woman calling herself the Little Strawberry. And perhaps gonna have some interplay here and gonna see what this Turkish man thinks of the Little Strawberry. And just so much love. Almost too much to go around. And it's almost like the real Tashigi Zoro came out. Eventually we're going to get some messages and some comments and questions. But that's all okay, because if I get enough of them, we'll make them into a video and we'll put it out like that. That way nothing goes to waste, like a little bit of a Chinese recycle plan. We all have a lot to say about all sorts of things, but you're gonna have to wait until there's enough of you so I can put the video out. Moving on. What ended up happening on Team Blue in this game consisted mostly of the constant pressure and counter-pressure coming from this Lux individual opposing everybody else on Team Blue. One of the biggest limitations that my content has is that I cannot go and investigate locally. So in order to come up with a takeaway, I have to make certain assumptions. And based on everything that I've seen in this game, we have to come away with the impression that this Lux individual got enraged early at about 2 minutes in. And to really embrace the struggle, you have to start from an understanding that I did not have in me at the beginning of this channel, which is a habit and a custom of interpreting lineups among Western players on the amateur levels and the lowest tiers. And only inherent to those tiers and not involving anything higher, let alone anything professional. Lineups and compositions are to be interpreted only based on damage output. And the way you get to a mindset such as this Lux player has is if you double down on having these fixations about damage output. Top AD, jungle AD, mid AP, shooter AD, and support AP. That means magic scaling for the mid and the support, and physical scaling for everybody else. And so this Lux player is really a mid who selected as position preferences playing in the mid and in support because she's only interested in magic scaling characters. And so in the amateurs, the understanding is that the shooter is just supposed to swallow that, and that because of the fact that you wanted to play a magic user in the mid, you're now going to play it in support, and that is fine, because nobody plays real support classes anyway, or real support champs anyway. And if that has dangerous fallout for me, or for the team, well then that's just tough luck on me. Because screw me as the shooter. The shooter is not entitled to a support, apparently, is the conclusion that the amateurs have landed on. Now, of course, this kind of thing, making a typical mid laner succeed in support slot, would be difficult to do even for the pros. So this is a huge reason behind failure among the worst players, is that you're imposing this extra difficulty upon yourself. Thus, you will see that teams with a real support, such as Rel or such as Tom Kench, will typically do much better, and if you want a great record, one of the best things you can do is go and play support yourself, so that at the very least, that one position is actually being played properly. Thus, you end up with this pivotal misunderstanding with which this poor Lux player is infected through social mind games and social appeasing, which is that she's really playing mid right now and not support, and she believes that, and she's justified in that according to her. And so the fact that I'm not tanking the damage for her is a crime, and so I am a criminal, and how dare I? However, this was a sane team in a situation where we already have an AD champion playing mid and an AP champion playing top and a mixed champion playing jungle. And on the other side we have an AP champion in top and an AP champion in mid. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, when I first realized how much hate there was for playing RE in shooter or playing a Lux in shooter, thus replacing your typical attack damage carry scaling, and as an outsider and an adult, I was completely bewildered by this because I couldn't understand what the big deal was about making like a power cannon out of RE in the bottom lane. What could possibly be the problem with this? But now it's understandable because you have this custom that is accepted by 50% of the lower tier league players that automatically puts all the wannabe mid mages in the support position because there aren't enough spots. Now what you have going on in this team specifically is that everybody else was sane. This Teemo was sane. This Sechuani was sane, this Yasuo player was very sane, and so these were all very reasonable people and they understood that this Lux, of course, did not have a point. Because we've already broken that conventional damage output setup many times. Because this very team already sins against that damage output in top, jungle, and mid. Because it turns out that this fixation made up in your head about damage output is a terribly one-dimensional way of looking at things. And so we arrive upon an opportunity to open the great Adam Carolla citation book once again, as we are endowed with his wisdom. And we are allowed to say, when people behave this way, it is all projection. And that is precisely what is going on here. From the very starting moment, of course, this Lux knows fully well what she's doing. She's trying to be the star of the bottom lane, but they put her in a submissive support position, and so she's enraged, and she's going to take that out on me. Now I desire to achieve a healthy, individual, preemptive rhythm when it comes to attacking people. And so I really want to opt this time to not dig too deeply into how foul and petty this Lux player got. If you so desire to see it, I'll attach the Lux video file so you can see the Lux POV in addition to the rest of the video, perhaps on a side monitor or whatever. But suffice it to say, I was in this case entirely bona fide, bona fide, the Roman law expression which translates to in good faith, or with good intentions. It's used to indicate sincerity or honesty in one's actions or beliefs, especially when there is no intention to deceive or defraud. And so I didn't screw the pooch with this Lux individual on not being a good tank because I wasn't trying to or because I wanted to mess with this Lux or start a fight with her. The reason why this situation arose was because I honestly believed that it was my job to output damage and not to tank. And this Lux honestly believed that it was my job to tank. We're gonna have an unbelievable recovery here from this Sechuani, who was just a dream of a guy, and perhaps the embodiment of what every casual team is really missing. This sturdy reliability combined with this unselfish utility, and just found their real spirit animal in this Sechuani as well. This player's personality fits so well with just standing in the breach and complementing that lineup so well, which is precisely what Sechuani is all about. We have a couple of jabs from Vex in the mid, no real power behind it. And it has everything to do with that anticipation of seeing the reaction of a hyper carry like Viego or like Yi, but instead you get that moving fortress of a Sechuani, Nostre Castello, and just unshakable. I'm going to be able to get a double kill next to the grubs, and just a constant healthy nervousness when that ult is not on cooldown, knowing full well that I should look for opportunities to get rid of that missile as soon as possible if I want to maximize my damage output. We have that healthy in and out game with Pow Pow, and honestly, the attack speed bonus is more effective than you would think it is. This enemy team composition quite dangerous. You have mixed damage from this Vayne, you have magic damage from this Vex, and you have magic damage from this Mordekaiser. In retrospect, it was probably not the right time to go Tornmail, but in the end, there's a bit of physical in so many kinds of damage that you end up taking, so it helped out after all. Besides which, I couldn't really anticipate that this Nocturne player was going to have a really rough time. And isn't this Sechuani skin just the most adorable thing that you've ever seen in your life? And trading the swine in for the lion, and the thing just looks happy, like a big fluffy Pokemon or something. It's uplifting to look at. This Teemo player, good fights outside, a bit of a god player when it comes to retreats, and this man is going to consistently whittle down enemy players by hopping around on his fluffy rear end. Eventually you get this face-off between Yasuo and two other champions, and we experience everything that makes Yasuo such a beautiful force in the mid. And perhaps if this Rel player had been slightly less responsible in her item choices, this could have actually worked. But with Rel donning Tornmail, you just end up with an impossible task. And even Yasuo cannot succeed here. The best thing about this fisherman individual playing mid is that he resonates so well with this champion. He understands what it's all about. Yasuo is not an in and out champion. Once you go in, there is no out. That is what the bonus stats are for. Eventually, what will unfold on Team Red, as though it were their own personal little Lux situation, will be the struggles between this Vayne player, her big daddy, and this Sergio Acatela Nocturne player. And about 18 minutes in, this Vayne player is really going to start laying into this Nocturne, frequently celebrating his death, and going to end up creating a lot of miscommunication and frustration and confusion on Team Red, which will end up costing them dearly. And Vayne, as we know well, is one of the most mobile and mechanically demanding ADCs in League of Legends. Vayne is all about kiting, mobility, and bursting down squishy targets, especially with her percentage held true damage and agility. Vayne has that passive Night Hunter that makes her a nightmare to escape from. It gives her bonus movement speed when she's moving toward an enemy champion, allowing her to gap close or chase them down quickly. This lets her pursue or kite with incredible efficiency. And you get that tumble down the river, Vayne's signature ability that gives her insane mobility. In this, Vayne dashes a short distance and instantly makes her next auto attack more powerful. And just whittling down myself and Yasuo throughout this clip. What is so impressive with Vayne is that the stumble cooldown is reduced every attack that you land on an enemy champ, meaning that the more you attack, the more you can use it to tumble around. And just so much goodness in this Lux player. And we are allowed a glance at what happens when I am not in the bottom lane anymore. And suddenly, she can use all of those protective spells again. Because of course, I am the ADC, and so I am bad, and I have to be punished. So I don't get protective spells cast on me. Unfortunately, as the game will progress, this Lux player will have to experience what it is like to try to sabotage through exclusion on highly cohesive teams and highly mature teams. And you will find that you only starve yourself, which is what ended up happening. This Yasuo player, what a man, what a title. And is there anything more wholesome in this world than being a fisherman? This individual will end up filling in for Sejuani whenever Sejuani is roaming or cannot get to the Drake right away. And pretty much this Yasuo is as winning of a mid as we've ever seen on the channel. Because we've seen some mids with high accuracy, but just the willingness of this player to put the victory above anything else. It just left us all with so much wiggle room, so that really it was okay for me to use Yasuo as my support in this game. When this Lux refused, I had somebody else to turn to. And we observe this Nocturne player frequently not being able to contribute to team fights. This Spanish man is going to end up going for a kind of pure assassin build, landing on Eclipse and Axiom, and getting Axiom arc in general for Nocturne is a pretty grand sacrifice, as well as Eclipse, but that goes for just about anybody. And really, the way that this Nocturne player ended up positioning himself in fights, especially with his reaction speed, you would be much better served if you got a bunch of tank items. Because you're not landing combos in any kind of way that warrants this kind of ult reinforcement and boosting. We open with the overwhelming presence of the Sechuani player. This Lux player keeps pushing retreat, so I end up taking care of the mid tower rather than the bot tower. We end up with a bit of a brawl next to the grubs. We're gonna have these mines function really more as a kind of mind game. This Vayne player tiring himself out on bullying Nocturne, mentally effed around by the mines and then end up taking you down with a long range poke. We transition into a stand and fight phase where I really get to show off some of that pow pow scaling and then the serrated dirk in my inventory leading up to the collector. We're going to have this Turkish man playing Mordekaiser getting guilt-tripped into going down with the rest of the team, which is of course something that you shouldn't do and is all around stupid. Fighting 5 people all by yourself just because the rest of your team died. And it's just going to be back-to-back deaths for this Mordekaiser player who just got revived at the fountain. And you end up spending a solid 2 minutes or so just staring at your screen, perhaps playing with what is between your legs. This Lux player like a god of vengeance. And doesn't he look powerful, revenging himself? Doesn't it look powerful? This is what 70 mastery and 10,000 of games played gets you, everybody. That's the kind of future we can expect. And so much the more humiliating for this Vayne player to get taken out by her matchup after we get this juicy start for her in the bottom lane. And the desperation is tangible when that regret sets in from using Ghost offensively. You're using up Tumble, you're using up Flash, you're using up Ghost, all in this one getaway attempt. And since I perceived that this Lux player was fully intent on making the entire game about screwing me over, and I unexpectedly received a lot of mercy and a lot of grace from this Sechuani and this Yasuo, I ended up building myself much more tanky than I had to. Putting on Thorn Mail, but you also come away with so much more confidence when you're trading that you know that you can go in deep without really risking anything. And one of the things we're seeing quite early on is that with very limited weaponry, something that I didn't quite understand earlier, as I'm learning myself alongside you guys, Jinx is pretty behemoth-esque when it comes to damage output, even when she doesn't have anything in her inventory. And contrary to most Teemo players, we're not going to see a lot of traps from this good fight Southside guy. Instead, this Teemo player really relies on a dexterity that I myself don't have, and is just going to outmaneuver everything and everybody. You got a solid amount of damage in those darts, and just every time jumping up and down and kiting around, surviving at all costs, you get some reliable shielding from the Sechuani and just making it happen, making it work. And for whatever reason, this Vex player not packing a hell of a punch. Burst damage that is fairly easily dismissed. And it's good too because I really didn't stack anything for dealing with casters or mages in this game. We have a bit of monkey business to open the play from this Lux. By now, you most likely get the gist of what is going on here. Yasuo, Captain Dependable, taking care of the Drake. What a guy. This Lux not with us because we are the poopy pants people. And she doesn't like us, so she's going to go ahead and do what the pros do and suicide herself on the enemy base. Except for, of course, it doesn't work because she's not a pro. We end up in this position where I'm able to capitalize on the ultimate in the mid lane, just giving the perfect assist. Yasuo being slightly too brave for his own good, but doing tremendous work, and just a suicide mission at the enemy camp. You will be remembered. This 10 out of 10 jungler suggests that we take down this Atakan. We do. End up with a bit of an enemy ambush, and I let the ult go right away to put it on cooldown. At this point dominating, we get the half-missed Sejuani ult. Eventually, freezing Vex in place. I got that natural high attack speed with Pow Pow, and I end up making the kill. Eventually go godlike. Let's have a look at this game. Let's have a look at the individuals in this game. Let's have a look at how they interacted with each other. We have this Turkish man, most likely residing in Germany, playing Mordekaiser. This Mordekaiser really made use of the full range on his abilities. You have a bit of a splash on all of those spells. And just really using that in the most constructive way possible. You ended up sacrificing yourself to push the top lane, trying to knock every one of the turrets down. And you got farther than anybody else on Team Red all by yourself. You need to let go of your summoner spells a lot more. That teleport has many uses, I do it all the time. You can jump in at will. What we have with this Mordekaiser player is a lot of guilt. Being tricked into suicide missions by your own team with their pings. Don't be fooled. Don't just go and die because they tell you to. Because in the end, they have no respect for that kind of civility anyway. We have this Nocturne player going 1 in 14 on a 10 out of 10 jungler. Nocturne, the adult version of Warwick. Warwick, to clean up any misunderstanding, is not a champion that I hate at all. I think he's magnificent as a starter champion. And I believe that even getting good and high mastery on Warwick is productive. But I do believe that acting like you're better than everybody else because of that early game power spike is disgusting. And this Nocturne, as a champion, has a lot of Warwick in him. So deceptively tanky, so deceptively hard to bring down, and yet you had 14 deaths and only 1 kill. You need to synergize your shopping behavior more with your spellcasting behavior and your tactical positioning. When all you do is go out and tank for people, you should go ahead and get a bunch of tank items. Because in these positions, really you reduce the cooldown on all of your abilities, but how many abilities did you actually use? I think I saw you use the ultimate like 3 times. We have this Vex player. A bit of a mystery. Has Vex been nerfed or something that I wasn't aware of it? Really, I don't know what's going on here because this person didn't do any burst damage and yet all of us were vulnerable to magic. So I really don't know what that was. Sejuani seemed to have primarily physical defense. I had physical defense. Yasuo had physical defense. So I really don't know where the burst damage ended up being absorbed or falling off. And without that punch, it's just so difficult to justify the typical Vex type of playstyle. We have her Big Daddy in this vein, experimenting on Vayne, and in all likelihood an old person, as you can tell from the Ghost combo, Summoner spell. You were very blessed in this game, but you got very angry nonetheless. The blue team bottom lane was self-sabotaging by intentionally effing with each other, and you had Rel as your personal support, just going around for you and making plays, and yet you completely lost your S and started being by far the most verbally toxic player. And there wasn't a minute going by without you coming after this Spanish man playing Nocturne on a personal level. It's also something that semantically I don't know quite where to put. I have never been in the proximity myself of a male that would use nicknames and usernames like her Big Daddy. I think it takes a very specific kind of mindset to end up in that space. And perhaps that is where the bodies are buried. We have this Rel player, Erdbeerchen, the little strawberry. You had 6 kills and 5 deaths and something like 20 assists. You're a dream of a player, a complete winning player. And I imagine that you've won many games. Because having somebody like you as a support is just a dream. Your itemization was as unselfish as I've ever seen. You even went with Knight's Vow, thus automatically boosting anybody who's with you and essentially paying their bills. We have this Good Fight Southside guy with the Teemo. This was a bit of a unique Teemo player in that he was really not reliant on his ultimate. I personally strongly dislike Teemo in the top, but if you play with this kind of positive energy, then you can make anything happen. Because on this level of play, really, positive energy is everything. If there was a secondary stat to be worried about, it'd probably be overall health pool. And very originally here also this Teemo going to end up trying to go for Wit's End, but not quite putting it together. And you also went for Banshee's Veil, which is very balanced and very much a brawl-like mindset, which is very unusual for Teemo players. We have the Sechuani player, the best jungler that we've seen in the last 60 days. You had 7 kills, 3 deaths, and 21 assists. You went with absolutely brilliant item choices such as Iceborne Gauntlet and Hollow Radiance. You were all over the map, and just that first spell with Sechuani, that Tiger Dash, so beautiful in getting around in terms of just not having to care about jungle walls and jungle objectives. We have this fisherman playing mid with Yasuo, a delicious person. Aren't all fishermen delicious people? This Yasuo player, definitely the backbone of our team. Extreme synergy with his champion, really kind of found his spirit animal in this Yasuo. He really plays just like Yasuo is supposed to be played and like Yasuo is also in the League of Legends lore. Just all in or all out, no doubts about anything the Bushido way, and going down with the ship. 100% soul, 100% Tamashi, and in a way really carried this team to victory. We have myself in Jinx, 10 kills, 1 death. You are welcome. Said to myself about 2 minutes in, this Lux player is a toxic piece of S, but I'm not gonna let it control my experience. I'm going to overcome it. All it takes is that humility to be prepared to lean on other people because as Jinx, you're very fragile, so you really need help. In this game, I got the best help that you could possibly imagine. End up starting with Thornmail was kind of risky and bizarre, but we made it anyway. A very late night game here, was a great night. We have this Lux. The only thing I'd say is just you have to kind of wonder what this gets you, man. Because if you're going to want to go after people, there's probably better ways to do it than in a League of Legends game like this. There are much more satisfying ways of doing harm than trying to lose on purpose in League of Legends. This is the kind of experience that really has you coming back to League. Such beautiful people, such a beautiful night. You thought you had me cornered, but you cornered me wrong. Team Enigmatics, right here, we may have something with this Jinx. You've got a lot to say about it, I see, and I want to hear it. Taking a look at the scoreboard here, I really enjoy seeing this, and I think this is far more realistic than the average demo build. You see him working on Wit's End here for more magic resist. Usually, when you're not Faker, it's better to limit yourself a little bit and pace yourself a little bit and not go all out ballistic on offense. We have here such a balanced Sechuani build. What a dream of a player. And just the essence here of what the average group is going to be lacking on this difficulty level. Such a trustworthy, steady ally, a reliable shield, and Sechuani still allows you to do good damage. Yeah, when you go all out offensive like this in support slot, when you know that you're going to be playing next to Jinx, you're just taking all of your own credibility away. And if you wonder why some people like me, are so hesitant when it comes to Luxin support and general caster support, let's make a comp here with this German girl and look at this and how it may help a shooter out completely differently. It's like crazy. This entire kit is just stimulating the shooter position. And then you wonder why people give you S for picking Lux. I should say we should need far more criticism and far more of a critical view, considering what we see here. Yeah, this is so fun to see. You see here upon reaching the 10-minute mark, you get Sechuani really taking off and completely leaving Nocturne behind. And just such a beautiful way to encourage playing tank. And it's so rewarding to do what the team really needs the most from you, and you can still get yours. Moving on.
has been slain.
Who needs reasons? I'll fight to the end!
An enemy has been slain.
I'm trying to care, but I just can't. Let's just behave. Said no one ever. Had a gun that shot other guns. Destruction around! Where was I? All right, we can have it.
Enemy killing spree.
I have the best.
An ally has been slain.
Here we go again.
Enemy rampage.
Hold on. I'm about to see something really cool. She's such a loser. Always ready to cry. I'm crazy. You should see my sister.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. Shut down. Shut down.
Whatever. Let's just.
An enemy has been slain.
Ask me if I'm listening. Hint. Jinx? Stands for Jinx. gun. But don't tell my other guns.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
All part of the plan, I just... Wait, I'm thinking...
An enemy has been slain.
Who needs reasons?
Killing spree.
I'm wearing lots of things.
Rampage.
I'm trying to care, but I just can't. Heaven's alive! Squashing her up. Let's just behave. Said no one
An ally has been slain.
What if I had a gun that shot other guns?
It's uneven.
A gift from the frozen. Right.
You have slain an enemy. Shut down. Unstoppable.
Best intentions. I'll be right back. No one dies screaming without me. Hold on. I'm about to see something.
Turret plating will soon fall.
She's such a loser. Always ready to cry. Hint, I'm not. Stands for jinx. I'm crazy. Got a doctor's note.
Shut down.
What's worst that could happen? Celestial burst.
An enemy has been slain.
I really need a new gun. I don't even think once about
An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
all part of the plan I just made up.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain.
Gotta do this. Who needs reason?
Killing spree. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
I have the best intentions. Primordial detonation.
An enemy has been slain.
I'm about to say something really cool. Loser, always ready to cry.
An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain.
I'm crazy. You should see my sister.
An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. Double kill. An ally has been slain. Ace.
Another win for teamwork. Ask me if I'm listening. Hint, I'm not.
Has destroyed a turret.
Stand for Jinx.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. An ally has been slain. Shut down.
What's the worst?
destroyed a turret. Enemy killing spree.
I'm thinking.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
There's no use running.
An ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. Your team has destroyed a turret. An ally has been slain. Victory! Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Seconds until minions spawn. Minions have spawned. Killing spree.
Shielded by light.
Rampage.
Hitting me is like boxing with shadows.
Killing spree. Rampage.
Primordial detonation. Celestial burst. Distortion erect.
Turret plating will fall soon.
Primordial detonation.
Blue team double kill. Blue team double kill.
Primordial detonation. Celestial burst. Heavens alive. Primordial detonation.
Dominating.
Distortion erupt.
kill. Blue team double